afternoon, guys. Welcome to today's UEFA Europa League final press conference. We've got around 20 minutes, so ask for a maximum of 2 questions per person, and please use the microphone provided. Gail, I think you're starting us off, aren't you?
Well, apparently so. You've obviously had a busy schedule since Thursday night, but have you had any time at all to reflect on what awaits, what's happened, just a moment, particularly with your family? And I know, are your boys happy they're getting a day off school to come to Bilbao?
Yeah, probably about getting a couple of days off school. Look, I think, like I said, it's been pretty busy, but there's also some planning that needs to happen and some practicalities around. A lot of it is just logistics and making sure that, particularly with the players, we give them the best preparation possible. So you've got to do a few things, pretty early on around logistics and making sure that everyone's organised. So that takes your mind to that final. But obviously, like I said, we had a game in between. So it's more been around the sort of practicalities of it than anything else.
I think, I'm sure you've spoken about it since, but seeing you in the dressing room afterwards, that sort of rare glimpse that we don't often get privy to, that gave us a sense of what you've been through to get here. And does that make it kind of even more special when you get to Bilbao in a year's time?
No, I think, I've said before, I think whenever you're sort of, irrespective of the circumstances, when you get to such a significant moment, I think there's always, an understanding of both on a personal level, but more importantly as a group, what we've had to overcome to get there. And I think every team's got their own story, and in those kind of moments, it's the emotion of it and how you've overcome the odds to get to where you are. Really important to recognise for the group and I guess for myself individually. So I was really proud of the fact that against the backdrop of some real difficulties and some massive challenges, that the group still found a way to get to the final and give us an opportunity of something pretty special.
Matt.
Ange. Before the last final in Europe, the Champions League final in 2019, the Spurs players were walking on hot coals and breaking arrows against their throat as part of the preparation. What are your plans? Any time for anything
injuries,
like
mate. We've got enough injuries. I'm putting them in cotton wool for the next 10 days. Anything seriously with the way things have gone with us this year, any extracurricular activities are going to be at a minimum. I don't know if you were watching training today. We had Reggie tackle Brennan, and they were on the same team. So, goes to show how we're going.
Well, we're on that sort of thing. Check up on Sonny and how you see this for him, and also with the sort of emotional factor that he's been here for a long time and not won anything.
Yeah, look, he's. Firstly, from a physical standpoint, he's good. I think it was important he got some minutes yesterday. He needed them more for himself psychologically than anything else. And he had a good session today. He was never going to do the whole session because he played yesterday, and he feels good. So we've still got sort of 8 or 9 days to go, and a game on Friday where we can build him up. And great to have him available. Like you said, he's been a big catalyst this year and a big driver of. He understands probably better than most what a trophy would mean for this football club and for him personally, because he's had an unbelievable career here in which he's done just about everything. But, the key bit, that silverware that every player craves for, he knows how important it is for the club, but also for how significant it will be for him personally. So, the fact that he's back and available is good.
Ali.
We were there for that moment with Reggie and Brendan. Are you kind of watching kind of training now with that kind of half wince? I mean, how do you kind of...
it's just, like I said, it's just, it seems to be how our season's gone, and, you don't want to you want to protect the integrity of training, and we've got to train at a certain level, but they're the quirks of things that happen. Thankfully, nothing too serious, and yeah, you just got to hope and pray that the football gods have run out of sort of challenges to throw to us this year.
Football gods, Decky, how's he looking?
Yeah, we'll see. He was a bit sore this morning with his knee, but like I said, it looks like a knock at this stage. But we're going to let it settle for sort of 24 hours and then assess it. But the initial thing was it's more of a knock than anything more significant.
Done.
And I asked you this last night, but to expand on it, how big a player does Kulusevski feel, given the absence of Maddison and Bergvall, just in terms of providing that creativity in the field?
Yeah, look, like I said, Daniel, we've obviously lost Maddison and Bergvall in the last 2 weeks, so it's just, and yesterday I kind of only had 3 players that were supposed to, going to back up, and they're all going to play 45 minutes, and sod's law, it's one of those that gets injured. And look, he is important, but where we are right now, they're all important, obviously. And the thing with Decky was that he obviously missed a fair bit of football, but I could just sense he was sort of getting back into the groove of things. I thought there's some real promising signs. At Bodo, we had to do a really disciplined job for us in terms of defensively, but he started to show some of that attacking creativity. And I thought he started the game really well yesterday. So I thought our first 10 minutes were actually okay, and then he gets injured. So he's pretty important to us in the context of kind of where the squad is at the moment. So fingers crossed he's okay.
And you've talked about kind of twin realities or sort of parallel challenges, and there does seem to be a kind of different approach in Europe, particularly for these away games, than you're taking in the Premier League. Can you talk about that and kind of why the approach has felt so different in Buda and in Frankfurt to say how it felt against Palace yesterday?
Well, I mean, some of it's just personnel and it's you kind of, when you're putting teams together, it's a sum of all the parts that make it sort of effective. And when you make so many changes, it invariably becomes disjointed, and you're not able to play with the same sort of fluency and rhythm. So, if you look at our sort of back four in Europe, along with Vic, the reason I think that it works so well is that they all complement each other. They all sort of fit the pieces. We've got the speed, we've got the power, we've got the technical ability, we've got the calmness we need. So it kind of all fits together, and that's why I think we look so effective. Same sort of with our front three and midfield. So you're kind of always looking. Whereas when you just, you're putting 11 players on the park who are all very good and capable, but there are elements of that go missing where, they don't sort of complement each other when they're out there. So that doesn't allow you to play in the same manner and doesn't allow you to look as fluent. But again, that's the situation we've been in. Yesterday was, didn't really reach the levels in any of our football, whether it was our press or with the ball. And I think it was, the effect of the changes we made. I also think it was a big emotional night for the whole group on Thursday night, and we got back obviously late Friday morning. We didn't train Friday, which we usually do. So the preparation was limited and all those kind of things. They're not excuses, but they're reasons why maybe the lads didn't perform at the levels we wanted them to.
Angelina.
Hi, Ange. A lot of your style and system, it's based around the players really believing in the process and the tactics. How easy or hard has it been to keep everyone believing the way that they play through this season?
I guess, that's what I spoke about sort of after the game, is that I think I've said all along, as a manager, I guess that's a key to everything you do, just how much belief the people, not just the players and the staff, have around you. Now, when things are going well, that kind of takes care of itself, but fair to say we haven't, sort of had smooth waters this year where there was the opportunity for players to question and sort of maybe lose a bit of faith or belief in kind of what I was doing and what I wanted us to do. But I just never sensed that. I really felt the players, even the most difficult of times, still embrace the fact that, if we continue down this road, we could still achieve something. And so easy in the respects of there was never any point where I felt, geez, I've got to sort of address this at any point. But also testament to I guess the group, the players and the staff, because they're just as important. That at no time when there was an easy option to waver on what we're doing did I sense that was it. And we wouldn't have got to the final if that was the case. I don't think. I think even during Europe we had some real challenges with players missing, and they still found a way to overcome those things. And I think when we got to the knockout stages, sort of from probably the Alkmaar away game wasn't great, but from Alkmaar home, those last 5 games, they've really sort of said, okay, well, everything we've worked for has been for this purpose, and been really clear on what we need to do.
And you've spoken about the emotional side of this, Europa League final. There was a moment earlier in the season when you did talk about trophies, and it went viral, it got taken out of context in ways. But for you, how important is winning this trophy?
Well, for me personally, great. It's another trophy I can sort of reminisce in my old age about, but more importantly what it means for the club. I think I've always said that it's the significance of what it does to people that really impacts you. So, a lot of the success I've had has been stuff that's pretty significant. It's been at clubs. Yokohama hadn't won a championship for 14 years. Australia had never won a continental championship. Brisbane had never won one. South Melbourne, my first job, we hadn't won one in 7 years. Celtic was 1 year. Trust me, that's a long time in Scotland. But they had to wrestle back, the dominance that they had for so long. So it's the significance of them that because you know what it does to the club and to the people. And when you look at the historical backdrop of this club and what it's sort of been on for the last 20 odd years, I feel like it could be a turning point in terms of the way the club is perceived, but also more how it perceives itself, which is I think the biggest thing. Because until you do that, irrespective of what else you accomplish, people are always going to say, well, you haven't won anything. And in our game and in life in general, I guess that's the things that matter most when people sort of assess where you're at.